And I remember looking down on the earth. It was down into my right, and I was up in this like bright heavenly place. And there was another being with me who I now understand was probably one of my angels or my guides over here. I was an orb of light, and this being was a larger orb of light. And I remember that I was getting ready to go down and enter into this physical lifetime. And I was so excited. And I
Mhm.
remember just feeling like a child, like the innocence and the joy and the freedom. And something that I've never experienced here in this lifetime is the feeling of wholeness and innocence. Like I was perfect. I had never done anything wrong. I didn't have any guilt or any shame or any worries about disappointing anyone or making a mistake. I knew that I was going to make mistakes in my physical life, and I knew that that's part of the deal. That's what we come here to experience is imperfection. But from that perspective, it's really hard to anticipate what that's actually going to feel like and be like. I do remember that there were a couple of challenges that I had chosen to experience with regards to my physical health. I don't remember what they were, but I do have suspicions now that I've actually experienced some things that I think I know what those challenges were. I think one of them relates to a neurological disorder I have that's causes my breathing rate to be slower than normal and causes me some issues. And then another one is some neurodivergent issues that I have going on that has caused me some social anxiety and a number of other challenges in my life. But at the time, I was so excited to experience these things. And I really thought, I'm going to go down there and I'm just going to do this. And I knew that I was going to make mistakes and that it wasn't going to be easy. But from that perspective, I just thought, I'm going to nail this and I'm going to do it so well. And it's going to be so much fun and so awesome and so exciting. And I just couldn't wait to get started. So I have that glimpse of a memory. And the final one, which I can mention, is I remember, and I don't know where this was in time in relation to when this happened or if there is even a when, but I just have a memory of being in a realm of light. And when I was a really young child, I thought of this as the Garden of Light. And it's where I was there with other souls. And we all felt again like children, like young, innocent, completely joyful souls who had never known guilt or disappointment or anything like that. And I remember there was a brilliant being of light who I've called Jesus, and I was raised in the Christian faith, so perhaps I just put that name to it as a child. But he it was a male being, and he was completely made of light and joy and innocence, and he would come and visit us there and teach us things. And I remember him teaching us things about the earth, about how the angels don't use violence and don't, because sometimes we picture angels carrying swords and being God's arm, like God's soldiers or whatever, and fighting demons and fighting evil. And he was teaching us that's not actually what they do. They use love, they use healing. Their power is love and healing, and their job is to heal the world and to heal relationships and to heal people physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so that's one thing that I remember being taught in that realm of light. Everything there was made like of waves of light, and there wasn't really separation between beings and objects. So beings would be like more concentrated waves of light, but those all of our light would flow into each other and into the air. Not that there was air there, but into the realms around us. And I could feel the light within me, and it was joy and innocence were the two predominant emotions that I remember. So that's a summary of the pre-birth memories that I can remember now and that I can put into words somewhat easily.
Thank you for sharing. That's a lot. Like you remember a lot, and I get many questions, and I just want to jump into some of them. And we could speak more about
Mhm.
your human life later on. Because I've always been curious about who we are on the other side. So did you sort of feel yourself as an individual soul? It's like, I am me. And now I'm going to be Melissa, like this character of Melissa. Like, I'm curious about that. Like, who were you who were looking down at this earth or being in this garden as this light?
Mm. Yes, I definitely experienced myself as a presence. I don't maybe not an individual in the sense that we experience it in this world because I was not attached to any story or any character, like no story about who I am. Like in this world I would say I'm a mother, I'm a human, I'm a female. This is my likes and my dislikes and my passion and my purpose. There, I didn't have any of that. I was
And not, no
simply
personality either?
I would say there was probably a yeah, there was somewhat of a personality, but it wasn't there was no attachment. My personality wasn't how do I describe this? So, let's say that here in this life, one of my personality traits might be trying to think of a good example. Let's say I tend to struggle with anxiety here. So let's just say part of my personality is a tendency towards anxiety. Uh, Maybe that's not a good example because that's not something you would have on the other side. But and so I might have an identity wrapped around that like I'm an anxious person and because of that I'm afraid to drive on the highway or I'm afraid in social situations or and this is part of who I am. So on the in that pre-birth state, I might have qualities to my personality, but there was no identity wrapped around it. Like, I am this, and because of that, I will do this or act in this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So, with your experience and now having interviewed so many others about pre-birth experiences, because I know it seems like you focus on that a lot on your channel, where would you put, like, how would you make sense of sort of a larger picture here of how we plan our lives, how detailed we plan our lives? Like, do you feel like your experience are similar to other people's experience, or is it unique? And how does it sort of, what does it tell you about creation?
Mm. Yes. As far as the pre-birth experiences, I a lot of people I've talked to have a more in-depth memory of actually planning their lives and working with their guides than I do. I just have a brief glimpse of that. But what I can say, like in that glimpse, there's I remember like a lot of knowing about what was going to happen and why. What I can say is that I remember knowing that, first of all, everything is joy and bliss and perfection, and we are eternally safe and secure and loved at all times. And these lives that we're living are something that we choose to do with joy. And there is, in my memory and in my experience, there's definitely an element of learning. I know some near death experiencers will say that we're perfect and there's nothing for us to learn, which is also true. And I don't have enough of a broad scope of memory to remember why we're doing this in the first place, but I do know that it is all chosen with joy. It's about learning, and the learning this might be hard to believe from this side of things, but from that perspective, it's all very gentle. It's all freely chosen. It's all perfectly guided and all working out to perfection. And it's like this is a really valuable experience where we get to have some challenges. We get to do it for fun and for the joy of doing it. And we get to learn along the way and develop our spirits. So that's what I remember about it.
To watch the full video, click the link below, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel.
Stomagliata falia. Tanjavra leto.